Thank you for that. I hope I can share something that you take home with you today. On a late summer day in May, a young man met up with a couple of 15-year-olds he'd never met before. They went and they found an out-of-the-way place in the shadows to smoke a little weed. Now, he was 16 years old. He just got his learner's permit. He'd been behind the wheel a few times, and he really liked it. I mean, this is what he wanted to do. And you got to understand this. These were teenagers. And when you're a teenager, your mind hasn't really fully developed. And if you want to understand more about this, and you really should, there's a good book by Daniel Siegel called Brainstorm, The Power and Purpose of the Teenage Brain, where he unravels this mystery. You know, we all used to think that teenagers and adolescents are something we need to buckle up for and ride out until they become adults. But there's a lot more to it than that. So they sat around talking, these kids, and they got the germ of an idea. You see, my 16-year-old friend, he knew this family in Cortland. His family had been to visit their family. And while there, he noticed where they kept the car keys. And he also noticed how he could get in the house without a key. So they moseyed on over to this neighborhood. He told the 15-year-olds to hang out in the shadows by the spray-it-yourself car wash around the corner. And off he went. 10 minutes later, he comes back in the car. He says, "Hop in, we're going for a ride." And they broke into a house that was vacant. They took some money, and they headed up 81 to Syracuse. Now this boy, he had always wanted a pair of these Timberline boots, pretty fancy boots for his family. And now he had some stolen money, so they stopped, they bought the boots, and on they went. And they were driving around. And next thing you know, it gets to be like 4 o'clock in the morning, and he thinks, holy cow, we're in Syracuse. These people are gonna get up and see their car missing. We gotta get back. So they zoom down 81, they go back, they put the car back in the driveway where they found it. He sneaks in, puts the keys back on the counter, and off they go, scot-free. And he's got his Timberline boots, and he's got his 2 new buddies, and they're going down the railroad tracks, because that's where the kids like to go, because nobody can see you when you're on the railroad tracks. It's kind of out of the way. Next thing you know, there's flashlights coming at them from 2 directions, and the police have them. And they drag them down to the police station. They call all their parents. Parents show up. The 15-year-olds, they get an appearance ticket to come to family court. They go home with their parents. The Timberline boots, well, they go in the evidence locker. But the 16-year-old, he's no stranger to the police. They've seen him before. So they set bail at about $5,000. And his mom stands there. She says, I don't have $5,000. I'm lucky to have enough money to buy groceries. And his dad, well, his dad's already in prison. He's not going to be any help. So they put him in the Slimer. There's a lot of things everyone in this room, I'm sure, is concerned about in our community. There's annoying things like litter in the street, trash on the sidewalks. There's disturbing things like kids smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, smoking pot. And there's frightening things like people stealing cars and breaking into houses. And we see all these things going on, and we think the fabric of our community, it's starting to unravel. Things are coming apart. And we see this gap, this widening gap between these people over here who don't have enough to eat, and the rest of us over here where we're doing okay. We know what we're going to eat. It's just deciding whether we're going to have fish or chicken. They're deciding whether they have enough money to put food on the table. And we wonder, how are we going to fix this problem? Where are we going to begin to kind of close this gap? And I thought about this. I think about it all the time, and you should too. And I said, whose fault is it? Whose problem is this? And then it occurred to me, it's my fault. I see the problem. I have the resources. I'm not going to blame this on a hungry person. I'm the one who sees it. I'm the one who should fix it. So how are we going to do that? Where do we begin? It made me think back to I think it was the 70s, where I watched this guy on TV. Oh, I was younger then, I didn't know any better. His name was Bob Schuler, and he had this little Tower of Power every Sunday. And once he said to me, he said to everybody, he said, beginning is half done. And I've sort of remembered that the whole while, because just getting out of where you are and starting to do something, that's half the problem. So I look at these things and I said, where are we going to begin? I said, well, I'm going to start with something easy, and that's the litter in the street and the trash on the sidewalk. So we got these little bags. Yeah, everyone gets one I get mine from Conni's because they're bright orange, so everyone can see and pay attention. And I take the bag and I go up and down the street, pick up the things in my neighborhood. You see, because there's different ways to tackle a problem. Some people write these whiny complaint letters to the paper. And you know what? They don't work. The litter's still there the next day. So I said, geez, I can go down the street on one side, back on the other, get every piece of trash in like a quarter mile in less time than it takes to write one of those letters. And it works. It's gone. So that's what I do. I take my bag, I go up and down the street. Now, I live on a street with college students. It's important. There's 283 college students on my street living in 43 rental units owned by 8 landlords. There's 2 good ones, there's 2 bad ones. The jury's still out on the ones in the middle. But they all have kids in there. And these kids, they come from all over the place to Cortland to go to school, to go to class, spend a lot of hours in class, a lot of hours doing homework at night, so they can learn to teach my grandchildren. Well, my grandchildren's grandchildren at this point. And they don't always have the energy to remember where to put all those red cups. So that's where I come in. I can pick up after 283 students in 20 minutes in the morning, and it's done. But I have to do it every day. And I wasn't sure why till Pranay told us this morning. He said, you got to have a routine, you got to have a ritual. So there's my ritual. Thank you for that, Mr. John. So I do this every day. And one day, I'm walking along, picking up cups, empty cigarette packs, pizza boxes, and I see on the ground this brochure. So I pick it up, and I'm looking at this brochure, and it says, Cortland Community Mentors. I said, geez, I didn't know we had that. And I'm reading through, and it says, this youth assist program is connecting children between 9 and 18 with adult community members to help them learn, connect with the community. So I called the number. I got some training, and then one day, a couple of years ago now, I met this 9-year-old and his mom, and he was a little wary because he had met her before, but it didn't work out. And then they paired him up with a college student, and the semester ended and the college student left. So he figured these mentors are kind of a temporary thing. So he was a little cool to me. He didn't smile too much. And the counselor said, well, Theron doesn't smile too much. So I met him. I found out he's 9. He's doing his best to take care of his mom because his dad is gone. And they don't have a car. They can't go anywhere. So we have an arrangement that every Wednesday after school, I'm going to pick him up for a couple of hours, and we'll go do something. We go different places, different things. We don't always need an agenda. One day I didn't have anything planned, so I pick him up and I said, I got to go pay the water bill. So I take him with me. We go to the city hall, through the metal detector, get all our hardware out, and go up there. And he said, what are we doing? I said, we're paying the water bill. He said, water, you have to pay for water? I said, how many 9-year-olds know that water's not free? It just comes out of the tap. So this is something new. He learns stuff like that all the time. One day I said, have you ever been to the Red Cross? And he said, what's the Red Cross? I said, oh boy, I get to be the first one to explain to him what the Red Cross is. How cool is that? So we do that. One of my favorite things, oh, you're going to love this. I have to go to work, of course. And being a mentor, it's not rocket science. That's my day job. I had some stuff I hadn't done, and it's Wednesday afternoon. So I picked him up and I said, we got to go back to work because I got to, finish some emails or some nonsense. So I parade him in, and we have this operations leader. You know what operations leader is? I'm the engineer. I'm the guy who knows stuff. The ops guy, he's the one that must do everything that I know. So his name was Rich Russo. He's a great guy, jovial guy. He could be Santa Claus and real friendly. So I bring the boy in. Rich is standing there. I said, this is Theron, this is my mentee. And Rich gets this big smile and he says, hi, I'm Rich. And Theron, without missing a beat, says, I've never met anybody rich before. And I thought, that's pretty funny. And then later I thought, I know why he hasn't met anybody rich before. That's my fault. I never introduced him to anybody rich. Everybody in this room is rich, and you know I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about the richness in here. So I said, well, that's my job, I guess. He's never met anybody rich. So that kind of became my theme for being a mentor. Every Wednesday I pick him up, and we go to meet somebody with some richness, something to share. I know there's 2 or 3 people in this room that we've been to see. There's one I didn't see who I invited that I was kind of disappointed she didn't make it. She's on the school board. And we see a different person every time. And that's kind of highlighted my week. But I have to do it every week. Like Pranay said, you got to have that routine, that ritual. So I pretty much got the handle on this, that everything that happens is my fault. And I read in the paper one night, oh, I forgot to mention this. In the newspaper, they have a little section that says the good old days. 10 years, 25 years, 50 years, and they go through the archives and they pick out little articles from the paper from years and years ago. Well, just the other day, I'm reading it, and it says, 1989, Youth Assist Program, connecting 9 through 18-year-olds with caring adult mentors. I thought, 25 years ago, where the heck have I been? All that time. And I thought, well, if they've been there 25 years, where are all those adult mentors? 25 years with adult mentors, you can count the adult community mentors on 2 hands. And I thought about it. I said, whose fault is this? And then I realized that's my fault. I've been doing this for 2 years, and I haven't shared it with anybody. And it's about the most important thing I do, and I get no backlash at work. I go to work. They want to have a meeting on Wednesday at 3. I said, nope, not doing it. That's my mentor time. And that is sacred. Nobody will violate it. So I'm just getting a handle on this fact that all these problems are my fault. And I read this article in the paper, and it says, Homer teen facing felony charges for car theft. And I thought, oh my gosh, what have I done now? And I read it, and I read it again, and I go back to work, and I do my normal thing, but it keeps coming back to me in the back of my mind. I said, what's going on with this 16-year-old? Who's got his back? Who's going to his court appearances with him? So I called the probation department. I said, what's the story on this kid? And she said, oh, he's a great kid. I've known him for a long time. I said, well, can you tell me who his mom is, maybe? Give me her phone number. She says, oh yeah, she's a wonderful person. She gives me the phone number. So I call. I talk to this lady. She said, well, why don't you come over and we'll have a chat? So I'm thinking, oh boy, she's gonna be dirty, the house is falling apart, she's gonna be overweight, she's gonna be lazy. I go to meet her, open the door. It's a delightful woman, worried about her boy. He's got these impulses. He's got a little ADHD. He's got some bipolar. He's been off his meds, and he goes haywire. He gets impulses he can't control, but he never hurt anybody. He's a good kid. I said, can I go see him? She said, I think you'd really like that. Because he'd been in jail for 10 weeks. The whole summer. He's 16 years old, and he's locked up. They had to put him in a separate section because you have to keep the minors away from the majors. So I go to the jail. Has anyone here ever visited somebody in the jail? Well, it's pretty scary. Not as scary as doing a TED thing here. But it's scary. So I walk in, I show my license. They're all looking me over like, it's not his relative, and it's not his caseworker, and it's not his lawyer, so what the hell is this guy doing here? They don't ask me, they just keep looking at me wondering, because they've all had training. You know, the training they give coaches about grooming, and I don't mean combing your hair. You got to watch out for those predators. So they think, maybe he's coming here to see the 16-year-old so they can get to be close friends. So they're watching me. I said, good, keep watching me. So I'm sitting there waiting. I hear this, what the heck is that? It goes, and I look over and here's all these guys behind the bulletproof glass. And they said, you're supposed to open the door. They're doing the solenoid on the security door. Nobody else was there, and I'd never been there. So I go in, door shuts behind me. Got another door, and there's a metal detector and all this stuff. I go through the other door, and I'm in this corridor, and there's 3 doors, and there's no signs. I feel like I'm, what's behind door number 1 and door number 2? Are there lions behind this door? Who knows? So I try the first door, it's locked. The second door is locked. The third door opens, so that is the contact room where they've got a little table and a horseshoe. The visitors sit on the outside, the prisoners come and sit on the inside, and you're right across the table. The boy comes in, nice looking boy, quiet, big smile. His mom had told him that some guy wanted to come see him. And he was excited about that. He didn't get a lot of visitors. So we talk. And I said, what do you do all day in here? He said, well, I'm reading a book. He said, I never did that on the outside. I said, wow, that's really cool. I said, have you ever heard of TED? Because I'm on this committee and we're putting together this TED. He said, TED. I love it. He said, they have an iPad here. I give them a list of the TED Talks I want to watch. They load them on the iPad, and I watch them in myself. And I think, oh my God, how can I get my 9 grandchildren in a room in here? They're going to read books, and they're going to listen to TED. What more could anyone ask for? So we hit it off, and we're talking. And when you go to visit a prisoner, it's like a security thing. It's kind of like when you go and get your prescription at the drugstore. They want to know when your birthday is to make sure it's really you. So when you go to the jail and you put in their name, they want to know the birthday. So I said to this boy, I said, I need to know your birthday. When's your birthday? He says, and this is no joke, he says, it's October 25th. And I about fell over. I said, wow, really? I said, you know, we're doing a TEDx thing in Cortland on October 25th. He said, really? That is really cool. So I get these ideas that he's going to get out in September and he can come. So I'm thinking about this. He gets out in September, but he's just got this urge to get behind the wheel. He steals another car. Two cars in one night. 2 different places. They rearrest him. They put him back in jail. He's sitting there now. But this time it's not my fault. So happy birthday, my friend.